no. Ouch. Bad hand. Bad touch. All the bad touches. No.
Frightened of your shadow?
No. He got me. Yeah. There wasn't too much escaping that. Oh, and I was too focused on the blob that I was...
Absurd pugilist!
Puppet Master, don't touch me, Creeper. I'm actually getting super upset by this guy. I'm actually fucking angry. Die, fucker, die.
I'll see you charged. In prison, some half-wit bruiser will make you his sweetheart, and then you'll hang.
Indeed. A hysterical woman, former lunatic, roaring outrageous accusations against a respectable social architect and scientist. My God, Alice, who would believe you? I scarcely believe it myself.
You.
And even if they did believe it, if they were
evil
involved,
will be punished.
like
By
customers
whom? By what?
of his,
Psychotic, silly bitch. You're mad.
would they
Punished.
convict him?
Now leave. I'm expecting your replacement.
Go stab him in the gut and wait while he bleeds to death. Embo. Shove him onto the tracks. Do it! She did it. But if we saw her in the bed with the white rabbit, is that another hint that she is actually still in the asylum and this is just a delusion to help her cope? Wonderland and London. Looking Glass.
Alice, we can't go home again. No surprise, really. Only a very few find the way, and most of them don't recognize it when they do. Delusions, too, die hard. Only the savage regard the endurance of pain as the measure of worth. Forgetting pain is convenient, remembering it agonizing. But recovering the truth is worth the suffering. And our wonderland, though damaged, is safe in memory for now.
Let's talk about this. Let's have a small discussion. Maybe not so small. She was in her Wonderland dress in the bed though. So she was having delusions of Wonderland while in the asylum bed. feels bad, man. She's still lost in Wonderland. Some people don't think of it so much as lost, but that she's coped enough to find a way to live in both worlds peacefully, instead of one being an escape or one being reality. She has merged both because she has found closure, and that she's able to exist in both in harmony. That now the reality and her Wonderland are finally in sync, that they can coexist, instead of seeing hints and signs of each in each world. Wonderland isn't necessarily bad, but did she really kill him, or is this Buffy delusion Wonderland? And that is the question. Because we had the scene where she flashbacked into the asylum, which could have been flashes of memories. And then, but right at the end, before she decided to push Bumby, we had a flash of her back to the asylum bed that we saw her in the first game, in her Wonderland form. And then what if she went back into her delusion in her Wonderland form, in what she thought was the London that was happening? If she was still in the asylum, and if it was her fault and she was trying to find a guilt-free way to cope with what happened to her family. Wonderland isn't a wreck anymore. It's a nice place to be. Why would you want to live in a place without wonder? True. The thunk was... What? The thunk was real? But I suppose the asylum in Wonderland is better than her being used as an insane prostitute. She wasn't, though, Ebo. That was Bumby's goal, but he didn't succeed with Alice. So Alice was untouched, but her sister wasn't so lucky. And a very large number of children were not so lucky as well. I feel like that was a moment of gathering strength, remembering what she had to deal with and the strength of how badass she is in Wonderland. And unfortunately, we don't know for sure because American McGee never released a definitive statement. The reason why he left it not necessarily vague, but open to interpretation, and refuses to make a statement on it, is because he wants us to have that same wonder and uncertainty that Alice does in the game. That we are just as unsure of what happened as she is. Which is a beautiful and brilliant way to make a game. And this is why I love this game so much, is because it's not just... The gameplay is it's mediocre. It's nothing special. It's nothing great. It doesn't suck. Like, it doesn't take away from the game. It's just a typical, like, just like jumping platformer kind of game. But it does have a really good story that kind of makes you wonder, you know, exactly what happened. You know, it's very much the Buffy was insane theory. Like, of course, nobody thinks that that's actually true, but there's just enough there for it to be possible. And it's that part that bothers us and makes us question that, you know, what if? Giving a solid ending would be less the feel of the game, too. Being left hanging like this feels right. And that's kind of part of it, J-Cod, is it has us with this sense of uncertainty that Alice felt in the game. So we feel the same as Alice in the game and in the character. And a game having the story storytelling ability to leave you with like these gut-wrenching feelings. To say like you sincerely hate this character. It doesn't just make you feel creeped out or gross. Like you sincerely hate this character. And probably because there's a hint of reality in there as well. Because it's not just simply some fantasy. It's not some made up evil in Wonderland. It's a very real evil that exists in this world. Writers cop out, couldn't come up with a good enough ending, so left it to trail off. I disagree, Ebo. Yeah, J-Cod, I also disagree with Ebo. I feel like it wouldn't have been the same if they just gave us a solid answer. That it is because of the complex storytelling and the complex writing that they force us to question and decide based on the clues and hints that we've been given. The Buffy delusion is also pretty awful too, in that there's an added theory that the delusion ended when Buffy died and went to heaven, only to get pulled back into the delusion. Like if she like went brain dead for a period of time, like if she like her jumping into the portal dimension was like actually her like committing suicide potentially in the reality, but she survived it and is still in there, so she came back. Like the Buffy delusion, I don't really think it's awful. I think it's interesting. Do I believe that? No. I don't believe for a moment that the Buffy was insane the entire time theory is correct. But I think it's very interesting to think about from that different perspective, in much the same way that I feel about Alice. I feel like Alice wouldn't have had it, despite the imagination that she had. I feel like her mind wouldn't be capable of concocting such a dark and sick story to feel better about without it having a root of truth and reality. And I feel like the story that we saw, excluding the asylum flashes, is what actually happened. That is what I believe. Do I believe in the Alice is still in the asylum theory? No. But I do think it's very interesting to think about in the same way as the Buffy theory. It's awful from the perspective that Buffy went nuts and fell down the rabbit hole to deal. But from that perspective, though, it's not Buffy going nuts. It's literally just a straight up case of schizophrenia. Is that she had the delusion about the vampire, and that's when she was first admitted. But if she was severely schizophrenic, those delusions wouldn't have just simply gone away. It would have continued and spiraled.